Alrighty, Tiger fans, it's time for some video analysis on our forward 50 entries, which I know has been a really big nightmare for us to watch over the journey. And I'm taking a look at the Essendon game from the other night. The first quarter in particular, because if we're being honest, the last three didn't have a great deal to watch. But in the first quarter, we did actually move the ball quite well up and down the ground. It was just our delivery inside forward 50 was shocking, and it gave us zero chance to try and mark and goal. And that's been the big difference with us not generating enough scoring attempts and converting them to goals. So I'm going to show some passages of the ball being moved up the ground, and we'll have a look at what the option we took was, and then maybe highlight some other ways we could have passed the ball off inside 50 to give ourselves a chance. Now, I understand the forward line's very inexperienced, a bit makeshift, if you will, so they're not really fully across all the running patterns and things like that, but I still feel like there's a bit of onus and responsibility on the players up the ground. They could be a bit more accommodating and make some better decisions when putting the ball inside 50 that could result in some shots on goal, which we need. We need to get those shots on goal early, boost the confidence, and keep ourselves in games for longer. So before we jump across, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for the channel. It's free and easy to do, and it really helps us out. We appreciate all the love and support. But with that said, let's jump over to the footage and have a look at some of the passages and do some video analysis on our forward 50 entries. Okay, so here we are. As mentioned, a lot of this will come from the first quarter because the following three quarters weren't all that flash. But honestly, I did notice that we did move the ball quite well at various stages in the first quarter, which was pleasing to see because it shows that the method we're trying to, and the game plan that we're trying to move the ball with, we just aren't able to do it for long enough and team set up and stop us from wanting to do so. But this first clip here will show the ball move from start to finish. So the Bombers have just kicked it out in the full, and we're going to take a kick in from deep in, obviously deep in defence. So we've hit the first target inboard to Sam Banks, and then automatically we've got players on the inside and the outside. So we've almost surrounded him. I don't know whether that was by design or if it's just how it's panned out. But the player, I suppose, to note as well is Jaden Short, who did start that kick, and just the run from behind to help generate the ball movement. And even Ryan Mansell, who you can see in the bottom left part of the screen, just keep an eye on his work rate as well as this unfolds. So we get the overlap handball to Short. So that there's a pretty dangerous and risky kick from Shorty, but Mansell read the cues. Shorty executed the kick really well. Mansell takes the mark, and importantly in this passage of play, Mansell looks to move the ball quickly and instantly. A lot of the times you'll notice that we're very slow to move it from this part of the ground, and that's what gives teams the chance to set up behind the ball. But as you can see here, there's a few Essendon players with their backs turned who are still chasing our players running forward. And we've got a 2-on-1 down the ground, and there's a couple of Essendon players pushing over. But because they haven't had time to organise, what you'll see is they end up having multiple players running to the same spot. So Sonzi gives the handball off. So here we've got, there's two Essendon players chasing Trainer and Sonzi, and then there's another two that are coming across. So it's a 4v2 that Essendon have created, but they're never really in a position to win the ball. So that means we've got extras on the outside. And if you keep watching Mansell and the work rate he has to keep pushing down the ground, you'll see that, the running from behind and the hard work actually pays off in terms of this chain of play. Nice handball inside. It gives it off to Mansell. So if we stop there, so this is the final kick inside 50. So we've done well to catch Essendon off guard. We've moved it quickly down the ground with some handball chains, some forward running, and it looks really good. Now it comes the pivotal moment of where the ball's going to end up inside 50. So when Mansell's kicking this ball, we can see that we've got 3 one-on-ones ahead of him. We've got Jonty Fall, Cozzy, and Morris Rioli in a one-on-one. Then there's two Essendon players who are slightly ahead, and one of them's trying to fill the hole. So Mansell's instinctive kick, I don't know whether this is a trained kick or whether it's just a default kick, but the instinctive kick is to go long to the goal square. But as you can see from this still shot here, that the only two players that kick's going to be of advantage to are the two Essendon defenders who are already on the inside of the Richmond opponent, of their Richmond opponent. So this kick, where it ends up going, isn't a good result. So what I'm suggesting maybe should have happened was, if you look at where Kazitsky's positioned himself, look at all that space in front of him towards the edge of the 50. For me, that should have been a nice, easy, he should have double backed, lead up towards Mansell, who had time to identify someone leading up at him, and that should be a mark about 40 metres out on a slide angle shot at goal. But we'll roll the tape and you'll see where this ball ends up. So you can see, based on that kick, the only two players that is giving advantage to, like I said earlier, are the Essendon players. Takes the mark, and that's the forward attack done. So all that hard work from defence, the midfield, the forward running, the fast ball movement, all comes undone with one final kick, and all it actually required was for Cozzy, and I'm not trying to shoot Cozzy because he's played defence for 2 years, right? So I understand that it's not in his realm at this point in time, but all it would have taken was Cozzy to double back, push up at the ball carrier. Mansell would have had a nice, easy, open lane pass to a leading forward. Mark, shot on goal. Okay, so we're going to skip to the second example now. So in this example, this is like immediately after the play we just saw. So the Bombers try to work it out a defensive 50. We've got a bit of pressure around the ball carrier, and they're going to turn it over in the middle of the ground, and then we'll step through it. So we can see the blast kick forward. We've got good representation. Nick Voston takes the mark. Now, what I love here about Nick Voston taking the mark is see how he instantly looked to his left to the open side with Tyler Sonsie down the bottom. So Sonsie's done really well to get into this space. He identified it. Voston marked it. And again, as EJ always says, pull the trigger quickly and get the ball to the players in space, which he's done. So we will roll it forward. So now Sonsie's got a couple of decisions to make. He's got no one on the mark in front of him. So, I mean, most definitely, first and foremost, he needs to play on, which he does. But we've got advantage of numbers. You've got Trainer out wide. I'm not sure who that is in the middle there. It's kind of hard to tell. But we'll keep rolling it. So he's approaching 50. So at this point in time, if we look at the options that we've got two Richmond players centrally. He's probably too close to kick it. It might not even be deemed 15, even if he hit that target. So that feels like it's out of the question. If we look deeper, look at the amount of Essendon players that are coming into that area. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 near Morris Rioli, but he probably isn't going to be too involved in the contest. So we can't just blast it long. We've got to actually find an option here. So at the point in which he's kicked the ball, you can see that where the ball's heading, deep to the goal square, the option's actually not the worst one, if I'm being honest, because Cozzy does have the space. It's a 3-on-2, but there's no one actually directly on Cozzy, and the first player to get to him, it's actually a mismatch. So that kick, I probably don't mind so much, but my thing is, you've got Luke Trainer to the left of you in a bit of space, and you could have chipped it over the top, and again, it's another mark 40 metres out uncontested, which could result in a goal. But instead, if we roll the footage, sits up high. Look, Cozzy misses the mark. He probably could have done a little bit better there to take that, being on Andy McGrath. Obviously bodied him out the way and just didn't complete the mark. But I just feel like that forward 50 entry, if we had just lowered our eyes a little bit, Trainer would have been a much easier and much safer option, kicking it 20 metres to his advantage in space. And again, he takes that mark uncontested because all of the weight of numbers were going deep towards where Cozzy was standing and Jonty Fall were. So no one would have really been coming up at Luke Trainer, and he would have just taken it unopposed. So that's just two examples there of maybe some differing inside 50s that we could have had a look at. So the third one and final one I want to look at, there ends up being two lots of play in this, but it's a running bit of play from Morris, and then another forward 50 entry from Jacob Hopper that didn't go according to plan. So we'll start the ball off here. There's going to be, Morris is going to collect the ball on the wing here. Lovely pickup, uses his pace, which you want to see for sure. So at this point, Morris has done the right thing, exploded away from the contest, was really, really good. And the kicker field, though, it wasn't his best kick. So he's actually, when we see this open up in a second, you'll see that he's kicked to a 2-on-1, and the one's Ryan Mansell. It's not the tallest guy. If you're going to kick to a play in a 2-on-1 up the ground like that, it's got to be a precise kick. It can't just be on top of his head. Now, by contrast, you've got someone to Morris's right running on the outside who he probably could have and should have dished the ball off to, because he could have drawn the guy in who's about to try and smother the ball. He does have someone hot in his hammer, but he's probably got them covered for speed anyway. I would have liked to have seen this as a handball release to the outside runner, which could have then kept the play going. We maybe could have then changed the angle up and brought it inboard. That, or Morris could have looked to his left, and we've got 2 or 3 players on the inside of the ground unopposed. There is not an Essendon player within sight of those 3 players. And that then opens up the complete other side of the forward line. So, and I know he's running at a million mile an hour, but it's those decisions that can be the difference between a good forward 50 entry and from this happening. gets chopped off, bit of a nothing kick at the end of it, and Essendon take an intercept mark. But the ball comes back down. Morris follows up his work and takes the mark. This time he actually changes the angle of the ball and makes a better decision initially. So we'll watch that. So you can see straight away he's looked in board here. And we've got 3 players. You've got Taranto, Hopper, and I think that might be Jack Ross down the bottom. All in a triangle with no real Essendon representation around them to try and defend him. He still probably took a little bit too long to pull that trigger, but he hit Jacob Hopper. So now here we've got some options for Jacob Hopper. He has looked to the side to inboard to start with to Jaden Short. The option's actually on if he pulls the trigger, whether that's by kick. A handball might work, but this guy at the top of the 50 is anticipating that and would probably push up and maybe cut that off. And you've got, again, Luke Traynor, who's pushed into the top of the 50, seemingly all by himself. And this is where the importance of quick decision-making comes into play. So Hopper doesn't pull the trigger. So by the time he's not pulled the trigger there, Short is now manned up, Luke Traynor's now manned up, and now he's gone back and he's got to look for another option. So Luke Traynor, you will have just noticed, just disappeared to the left of screen. There is now a gaping big hole about 45 to 40 metres out, practically directly in front. That should be a bit of area of interest for Richmond players to run into. And this is the difference between where we're at and where better teams are at, that better teams identify that area and the forwards get into that space. And that is an easy chip over the top, mark inside 50, shot on goal. But Jacob Hopper doesn't get any of those options. So you can see by the time the ball's kicked, look how big that vacant area is. Not one Richmond forward led into that space. They all stood still, and now it's forced a long kick to the top of the goal square where Essendon have got numbers. So here we've got, how many loose have Essendon got? So they've got 2 loose who are both about to converge on the ball. The rest are one-on-ones. We've got 2 players getting front and centre. They've got 3. So in that entire bit of system there, we are completely outnumbered at all parts of the contest, and we have not utilised that big chunk of space right in front of goal. What are you doing, guys? And I know Luke Traynor's not exactly a key forward, but I would have loved to have seen him as he started to push back towards goal and drew his Essendon player away. Again, that's when he should have double backed into that huge bit of acreage in the middle of the 50. And Jacob Hopper gets an easy spot up, chip over the top, and so this video analysis has just shown a chance to get 3 uncontested marks inside forward 50, which would have resulted in shots on goal. But instead, this ends up being the outcome. Bombers spoil. Traynor got there, didn't get the free kick. So there you go, guys. Like I said, that's 3 bits of analysis that just shows how easy or how vital decision-making is when going inside 50. If we had played our cards a bit better, that's 3 uncontested marks inside forward 50 with an easy shot on goal from very minimal angles from very easy distance. And that's the difference between kicking 3 goals in the space of 2.5 minutes to kicking no score and being an even contest. So these are things I assume and hope that we will develop and grow and learn with as the years go on. But we need to see that change. That has to be one of the first evolutions of our game, because we're doing a reasonable amount of work behind the ball, bringing the ball up the ground into the midfield, good chains of play, but we're just lacking making good decisions going inside 50. And it could be personnel, it could be experience, and it could certainly be a combination of both of those things. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Does that all make sense? Are you enjoying this type of analysis video? Hopefully you are. It's good fun to take a look at and try and break it down, because you just see things a little bit differently when you're able to hit that pause button and spot a few things. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think about the analysis in the comments below, and we'll see you for the next one. Go Tigers!